You know what hurts the most? It's not growing old. It's waiting for someone who promised they'd never forget you, and realizing they already have. My name is Margaret Hill, and this is my story. I live in a small house in Ohio. It's quiet here, almost too quiet sometimes. When the wind blows, the windows make this soft rattling sound, like the house is sighing with me. Every morning starts the same way. A cup of tea, the clock ticking, and that same chair creaking under my weight. Funny thing is, that chair used to squeak the same way when Ryan, my son, used to sit in it as a child. He was a talkative boy back then, always asking questions, always smiling. Now, that chair only hears my thoughts. I still wake up at 6:30 every morning, a habit from when Ryan was little. Back then, I used to wake him up, make his breakfast, and pack his lunch. He hated peanut butter sandwiches, but it's all I could afford after his father passed away. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I can still picture him standing by the school bus, waving at me until the bus turned the corner. Those mornings were the best part of my life. After his father died, I did everything for that boy. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to keep a roof over our heads. I missed meals so he could eat, skipped new shoes so he could have books. But I never complained. I was proud. He was my reason to wake up every day. Ryan was smart, really smart. He got a scholarship to college. I remember that day so clearly. He came running through the door, waving the acceptance letter, yelling, "Mom, I got in." I cried that day, proud tears. I thought, this is it. He's going to have the life I never had. I helped him pack, drove him to the dorm, hugged him so tight he laughed and said, "Mom, you're embarrassing me." That was the first time my house felt empty.
At first, he called every night, then once a week, then once a month. I told myself it was normal, kids get busy, right? He moved to New York after graduation, got a good job, fell in love, and got married. I was happy for him, truly. I wanted him to live his life, to chase dreams. But deep inside, I hoped he'd never forget his old mother sitting back in Ohio, still making tea for 2. The first year was okay. He visited twice. The second year, once. Then the visit stopped. The calls got shorter, the excuses longer.
Mom, I'm busse.
Mom, I'll call you later. Mom, things are crazy at work. Each time I said, "It's okay, honey. Take care." But after hanging up, I'd sit there staring at my phone, hoping maybe he'd call back. He never did. Last year, he forgot my birthday. I waited all day by the phone. I even baked my favorite lemon cake, his favorite too, just in case he called. But he didn't. That cake sat on the counter for 3 days before I threw it away. I remember looking at the empty plate and whispering to myself, "You're being silly, Margaret. He'll call tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Sometimes I'd walk to the mailbox just to feel like someone remembered me. Bills, leaflets, junk mail, nothing ever personal. Not even a postcard. Once I saw my neighbor's kids visiting her. They brought flowers and cake. I smiled at them through the window, but when they left, I cried. Not because I was jealous, but because I missed being that important to someone. One evening, a delivery boy came to my door with a brown package. "Mrs. Hill," he said, reading the label. "Yes, that's me," I replied, smiling. My heart skipped. Maybe Ryan had sent something, but it wasn't from him. It was a blanket I'd ordered online weeks earlier. I had forgotten about it. As I signed the paper, the boy hesitated and said softly, "Ma'am, do you live here alone?" I nodded. He looked at me with kind eyes and said, "You remind me of my grandma. I haven't seen her in months." I smiled and told him, "Then go visit her. Don't wait too long." He nodded and left, but his words stayed with me long after the door closed. For the first time in years, someone had looked at me with the kind of care I used to see in my son's eyes. That night, I wrote a letter to Ryan. No anger, no blame, just honesty. "Dear Ryan, I'm proud of you. I know life is busy, and I know I don't fit into your calendar anymore. I don't need much, just your voice once in a while, so I remember I still matter to someone." I sealed the envelope but never mailed it. It's still in my drawer. I didn't want to sound like a burden. Then came Christmas Eve. It was snowing outside, the kind of snow that makes the world look peaceful but also colder. I sat by the window, wrapped in that same blanket, watching families walking together, laughing, carrying gifts. I whispered to myself, maybe this year he'll call. Midnight came. Nothing. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. So I opened my phone and watched old videos. Ryan's first birthday, his graduation, his wedding. Each clip felt like a lifetime ago. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it to find my neighbor's daughter standing there, holding a pie. "Ma'am, we're having dinner next door," she said warmly. "Would you like to join us?" For a moment, I wanted to say no. I was tired, sad, not in the mood for company. But something inside whispered, "Go." That night, I laughed. Real laughter, the kind that feels strange after years of silence. The little girl next door drew me a picture. It was me holding hands with my son. She said, "You look happy here." I took the drawing home and placed it next to Ryan's photo. For the first time in years, my home felt warm again. That night, lying in bed, I thought deeply. I realized something important. Loneliness doesn't always end when the person you miss comes back. Sometimes it fades when you take the first step. Maybe Ryan would call again someday. Maybe he wouldn't. But I couldn't keep waiting for one phone call to define my happiness. The next morning, I went to the community center and asked if they needed help.
They did.
Now, I knit blankets for the old age home and bake cookies for the kids' reading club. Every week, I see people smile because of something I did, and that fills my heart in a way I didn't think was possible anymore. Sometimes I still check my phone, habit, I guess. Sometimes I imagine hearing his voice saying, "Hey mom, how are you?" But instead of feeling sad, I smile. Because I know I raised him well. And somewhere out there, he's living a good life. Maybe that's enough. A few months ago, I got a surprise. A small envelope in the mail. It was from Ryan. Inside was a photo of him with his little boy, my grandson. On the back, he'd written, "Mom, I'm sorry. I should have called. I think about you every day. I hope we can visit soon." I cried when I read that, not out of anger, but relief. Because sometimes love doesn't die, it just takes the long road home. Now, every evening, I sit on my porch with a cup of tea and that same squeaky chair. I watch the sunset, the kids playing across the street, and the world moving on. And I smile. Because I've learned something that took me a lifetime to understand. Love doesn't end when people leave. It only ends when we stop giving it. So, if you're listening to me right now, please call your mother. Visit your parents. Don't wait for the right time. Life has a funny way of running out of time before we're ready. One day, the phone will ring, and there will be no one left to answer. I waited for a visit that never came. But I found peace in the kindness of strangers, warmth in the laughter of neighbors, and love in the little moments I used to overlook. Maybe Ryan will visit soon. Maybe he won't. Either way, I'm okay now, because I finally stopped waiting and started living again.